Reva, I'm glad you raised the security angle. I mean, we've been trying to understand as well when it comes to the likes of OpenAI, Anthropic, these recent cyber failings. I mean, the extent in which that also maybe makes more of a case for perhaps the Chinese AI models that have been coming out. Do they have a better hold on security in a way?
Well, so we are in this phase of highly powerful models now, not just in the cyber domain, right? But we could see force multiplying effects in bio and other threat capabilities. And so that's a forcing function on both sides, both in Beijing and Washington, in figuring out how to delineate safeguards, where to draw the line on where you gate frontier models. This is all very actively under debate. But again, if you look into the 2030s, we're talking about the development of hyper-connected AI systems, right? In the 6G era, so sensors and edge devices and models that are all wired into critical infrastructure. And so what that means is, the surface area for any kind of adversarial attack vastly expands. And so cyber and data exposure become an inherent feature of the stack. And that's important, right? Because again, then who are you going to trust to feed into those supplier networks? Where that, in some ways, too, restrictions carve out a market opportunity. And I think that's where you're starting to see some U.S. actions lean. Just earlier in the segment, you were talking about the FCC action on optical transceivers going into data centers, and then robotics, drones, all kinds of different targets. That's part of this picture.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to whether the policymakers are focused, I would say not on the right thing, but too limited in the scope that they're trying to, create some distance between hardware and the supply chain that goes into that. So I guess my question is, does it seem like there is a coherent strategy on the part of U.S. policymakers? And if there is one, should that include others, or can the U.S. go at it alone?
Coherent is not the word I would use here. It's kind of a mad dash effort, right? When you see on the critical raw materials side where to diversify as fast as you can, where China holds very significant leverage, of course, still trying to build out the energy infrastructure, but still a lot of constraints there. And then, of course, as we talked about, there are other areas of the stack that need focus. So this needs a more holistic approach. The U.S. cannot go at it alone. It does have a lot of strength at key layers of the stack, but you look at semiconductors, obviously that's not a U.S. go-it-alone strategy. Those are very complex global supply chains that involve key tech partners. But again, when we look at, connected devices, what's the manufacturing base you need to meaningfully diversify away from China? Obviously, the U.S. cannot do that alone. And then again, in total demand as well, you need key markets. That's where markets like India play a role. And this is part of that coalition effort where, it's there for the taking if the U.S. applied a more coherent strategy. We're not there today. Certainly, it's a pretty politically fractious climate still. But this is what's at stake as we head into the 2030s.